Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning. And today, we've got a kind of new combination that we haven't really tried yet. It's a choke that we haven't seen on the channel in a long time, and it's a shell in a variant that we haven't tried yet as well. And together, they're definitely going to make a pretty interesting little combination. But as for the shell we've got out here today, I picked up some of these. These are some Winchester Super X, 12 gauge, 3-inch, 1 7/8 ounce payload of number 4 shot, moving about 10 feet per second. We've tried some of the Super X5s with some surprisingly decent results for being how cheap these are. These are 10 to a box, and I think the box was like $11 or something like that. So for a turkey load, they are definitely down there on the budget end. But can the number 4s give us a decent looking pattern as well? We do have less shot in these shells since they are a larger pellet size, but if they perform well, then we're definitely going to be hitting them with a good amount of energy with these being 4s. So we'll see how these actually do today. But as for the setup we've got to run them through, I brought out the Remington 1187 here with this choke, and we haven't seen it in a good while on the channel, but this is an old school, I think probably early to mid 90s era Remington straight rifled super full turkey choke. It's hard to get a good measurement on the inside diameter of this choke since it does have some step ups and downs as well as rifling lands and grooves in there, but I think these are supposed to be somewhere around the 665 range as far as constriction goes, but definitely an old school setup that we've actually seen some decent results from. But how can it do with the Super X shells today? I don't know, but we're gonna find out. But as for the test today, everything is the same as usual. Turkey target is set up at 40 yards. I've also got the chronograph so we can get our velocity. So we'll get you guys a view of the target. We'll take the shot, we'll look at the chrono, and then we'll go down and look at our results. I have some decent hopes for these. I don't think we'll see anything outstanding or like a long beard pattern, but I hope to see a decent usable turkey pattern. So let's head over here and take the shot and just see what kind of results they're able to give us. Alright, so that shell gave us 1273 through the chrono. The boss claims 1210, so we are a little above their claim, but that's not at all unusual for shells like this. We've seen higher velocities than their claim before when we've tested Super X shells, so they might just run a little bit higher than their claim, or it could just be the 28-inch barrel that I have on that 1187. Either way, 1273. Perfectly fine, nothing out of the ordinary there, but how well did they actually pattern down there at 40 yards? Let's go check it out and see. Alright y'all, now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. And we do absolutely have a dead bird here. There's 5 or 6 through the brain and another 1 or 2 down the spine. So plenty good enough with lead 4s to get the job done. Our pattern might have been just a touch on the high side overall here, but still plenty centered up enough on this backer and stuff to see what we're dealing with. And I gotta say, for what this combination is, a very cheap, like dollar a round, lead number 4 Super X shell through easily a 25-plus-year-old Remington straight rifled super full turkey choke. That is not terrible. We have seen way worse with way newer and way quote unquote better combinations. Now, is it anything outstanding? Is it comparable to a longbeard number 4 shell? No, it's not. But still, for what this setup is, that would be able to get you a turkey at 40 yards all day long. And if this was back in the 90s or early 2000s with that old Remington choke, that would be a great pattern for back then, that's for sure. Now, we don't necessarily have a super defined core area. It's kind of just the same spread of pellets all throughout the main central area of the pattern. We do have a couple of voids in here. There is a larger one right over there that I'm looking at mainly. There might be another little one right over through there, although that's not anything too detrimental. It's definitely not perfect, but considering the pattern here, there's nowhere within that spread of pellets that's on screen there that bird can actually move to and get away from you. So it's plenty good enough to get you that turkey at 40 yards. Now around the outskirts, we do see a good handful of flyers. There's a couple over here off the left edge, maybe a few down there off the bottom as well. It's definitely not perfect, but I gotta say, this might be a touch better than what I was expecting to see. Now I'm thinking maybe we should run the Super X5s through that choke and see what happens, because with these being 4s, you just don't have as many pellets to fill in some of these gaps and voids as you would in a number 5 or number 6 or something like that. So maybe the Super X5s through that choke might be a really good budget cheap combination. This is not the best pattern we've ever gotten, but you can't really argue too much about those results, all things considered here. I wouldn't be scared to hunt with a pattern like that, although typically I do like my cores a little bit hotter, but for what that setup is, that's perfectly good enough and easily what I was expecting to see, if not a little bit better. So overall here, not too bad, all things considered, I don't think. Okay, and here's the wad from that shell, and as you can see, it is beat up a little bit, and we do have one petal peeled open farther than the rest. More than likely, you can kind of see this notch snagged right here on the end. That's probably from one of those straight rifling grooves, and if you get it kind of in the right angle, you can see, yep, there on that petal, you can see those straight lines from that rifling. So this wad was flying straight as it exited the barrel, which is always a good thing to see. So I definitely think it probably got caught up a little bit on the edges of that rifling, but not bad enough to ruin our pattern, clearly. As for the rest, there's nothing stuck down in there except a couple pieces of that little Grex buffer material. There might be one or two tiny little pinholes on these edges here, but nothing unexpected or terrible. And overall, for what the choke is, the way this wad looks is not at all unexpected based on the rest of our testing. And clearly, I still think it was able to do what it was supposed to do well enough for these shells today. All right, y'all. Well, what do you think about that pattern right there? Is it anything super impressive as compared to like a Longbeard number 4? No. But for being $10, $11, $12 a box and going through an easily 25 to 30-year-old choke that is not really designed the way that we normally design them today, that's not a terrible result there. If somebody had that set up back 25, 30 years ago when that choke and gun and stuff was new, that would be a really good looking turkey pattern for them. And still today, that is plenty good enough to get you a bird. And I think maybe with the Super X 5s through that choke, we might be able to fill in that pattern a little bit more throughout that core. But for lead 4s and a very cheap basic lead 4 going through an old choke, that might be a little bit better than what I was expecting to see. But leave your thoughts about it in the comments. Is that about what you were expecting? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested a combination like that? Or would you hunt with a shell in combination like that? And is there another shell that you want to see us put through that old Remington straight rifle choke? Or another choke you want to see us use with those Super X4s? Let me know all that down below. But I've got more testing to do out here today, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it. But I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.